Many years ago, when I was still working on my PhD, I had to travel for a conference in Italy, and I had two big fears on my mind. Number one was I used to fear flying. That trip to Italy was only my third flight since 9/11, believe it or not. And I could probably get over that, but there was another big, I wouldn't call it a fear, but an inconvenience, which was my food. When I go to Italy, there's a lot of things I want to bring in my suitcase. And I ended up having to take up a good part of my suitcase for food because once I got to Italy, I wasn't sure if I could find anything suitable. I had language barriers and stuff like that. And I didn't want to not have anything on the flight either. I live in the West Coast. Right now I'm actually in Missoula, but I was living in Seattle, and I would often fly home to my family. At the time they were in Pittsburgh. I had a girlfriend in Rochester, and sometimes when I had extra time I would actually take a road trip back home, believe it or not. It's about a 4-day drive each way, and oftentimes I would do that around the beginning of winter when it was not too cold, but it was not going to get hot in the car when I went to sleep in the car either. And the biggest challenge of that, believe it or not, was where I can get food and how I can eat in the car without making it a mess and causing it to stink, right? Because I'm going to go see my girlfriend. I might not have the time to get the interior of the car washed, especially when I'm traveling and there's a lot of stuff in the car, right? You can't just go in somewhere to get the interior cleaned in a situation like that, right? And that was a big juggling act of how do I time my trip so that not only can I get groceries, but then have a suitable place to stop and eat, having somewhere where there's a microwave I can use, sometimes even packing a microwave on the trip and then looking for somewhere to plug in that microwave or a crock pot. And that added a significant challenge to my trip, actually. When I was driving from Seattle to Missoula, which is a 2-day drive including a stopover, I didn't have to worry about any of that. The other thing that really showed me the benefits of being able to go without food for a few hours is that sometimes I like to go to an event that doesn't allow you to bring outside food, right? Theme parks, going to a movie. See, I used to hate those things because I couldn't bring my food in there. Sometimes I would make up a condition, especially if it's a scary sounding condition, right? If I tell people that I have, I forgot what I said it was, but I would Google all sorts of scary sounding conditions because you got a teenager who's working behind the counter at the movie theaters and you tell them that you have, I believe it was ulcerative colitis, and he doesn't know what that means. He'll just give you a pass to go in, right? And I didn't like telling people I have a disease. It doesn't feel good to tell people you have a disease. I hate it. I like to be strong. The other thing is that it just ruins the spirit of the trip to have to be sneaky. I had a time in my life when I did a lot of sneaky things. Right? I never felt good about it, and so. But this year I didn't have to do that. And unfortunately, we ran into COVID. But before COVID, I went to see a movie, what was it, Jumanji. And I didn't have to pull the stunt. This year I went to Silverwood Theme Park. Actually, was on my way into Missoula, but I went to Silverwood Theme Park. I didn't have to lie to anybody. Recently, I've taken up bowling. I think the bowling alley isn't so strict about not allowing you to bring food from the outside, probably because of the COVID situation. But still, I don't want to be eating in there anyhow because, my hands are touching all the bowling equipment. Definitely don't want to be putting my hands in my mouth. And I don't have to deal with having to explain, worrying about packing food, and my car is a whole lot neater. It doesn't have food wrappers, it doesn't have spills, corrosion from all the spills, and during the COVID situation, I took it as an opportunity to clean my car because now that I was living in my car before COVID. Now that I have an opportunity to move all the stuff from my car into the apartment, I got a chance to clean my car, and I scrubbed away so much corrosion, and then I put a new coating of zinc galvanizing on the metal parts of the car, and now I don't want to eat in there because of how disgusting that corrosion was. And I haven't had any more problems with that in the car now that I've done intermittent fasting, and I pretty much banned myself from eating in the car. My computer doesn't get dirty all the time. Years ago, I remember I used to have this bad habit of getting chocolate all over everything. Right? There would be a chocolate bar in my backpack in the summer, and then I would put my computer in there, and the chocolate would just melt into the computer. And I went to get my computer repaired, and it was disgusting. When the guy opened the computer up, it was full of chocolate, and he was surprised at how good the condition of the computer was. He was like, "What kind of chocolate?" He doesn't realize I eat baking chocolate. He was surprised that all the sugars and all the milk didn't stink up the computer, but it was baking chocolate. And he was like, "Oh," he was like, "Do you eat that stuff because you're afraid your computer is gonna stink?" And he thought that was the reason I chose baking chocolate. It was kind of funny. A few years ago, I totaled a car. I was driving a Honda Accord, and when the insurance adjuster went to look into it, he was worried that he thought I had animal poop all over the car. He asked me what kind of animal I had, and it was chocolate. And he laughed his head off. But I like it, being able to go to a movie, go on a flight, travel in a foreign country, take a road trip, or maybe not all the way to the East Coast, but at least a 1 or 2 day road trip without having to worry about food. It really feels like I've been emancipated from food, is usually how I like to describe it. Or having to argue with people about bringing food into a venue that doesn't allow it, having to worry about washing my hands. My hands feel a whole lot better now that I don't have to wash them so much because I'm not putting my hands in my mouth so much, right? It's funny how we're being told to wash our hands so much. We're not being told not to eat finger foods, right? I think that would be a much more practical advice, right? That's probably the main reason why viruses from your fingers would end up in your body in the first place, right? Thanks for watching.